Now we'll move to the next section of our meeting, that is evaluation section. I'd like to welcome our general evaluator, Jean Symington Craig, to continue the meeting.
Thank you. Now we're going to find out how we did, things we did well, and things that we might look to improve in future presentations. Our first evaluator is Louis Denbaum, who will be evaluating Lindsay McMartin's icebreaker.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Club members, guests, viewers at home, and especially Lindsay. Lindsay, great job on your icebreaker. It's always difficult to get up and give your first speech, and you did a wonderful job. I am going to work from the manual as to what you were asked to do. First of all, your strong points. You're very poised. You have great presence. You didn't seem at all nervous. And you had eye contact with us. You may have felt nervous, but you didn't appear nervous. So that was excellent. And you have a great sense of humor. Very personal. So that I really felt you up there, who you were. Did the audience get to know you? Of course we did. We knew who your parents were, your father, your mother with the long hippie hair, your psychic sister, your brother without the shirt, Jeremy. We found out a lot about you and your 11 years to complete your degree. Did the speech reflect adequate preparation? Absolutely. Wonderful, beautiful slides. Even got our timer totally engrossed in it. Was it organized? Yes. You went chronologically through your life. No better way to talk about yourself than chronologically. Very well organized in that regard. Did the speaker speak clearly and audibly? Absolutely. You project well. You speak at a nice pace. You pronounce all your words, that they're not cut off. All of that was wonderful. Did the speech have an opening and closing and conclusion? Yes. Again, the chronological nature of the speech helps to keep it organized. Comment on the speaker's use of notes. You had a combination of spontaneously speaking and also using your PowerPoint or your computer notes. And what I noticed is that when you looked at the screen and you saw a photo of something, you spontaneously just spoke to us about it. And then you'd go back to your notes. So you have that ability to speak to us spontaneously from your heart, all about what's going on for you. I think as you give more and more speeches, you'll have more confidence that you don't need to use your notes. But this is your icebreaker, and I think you had a good balance between using your notes and speaking spontaneously. What could the speaker have done differently? Rely upon your notes less in the future. Use fewer words on your slides. Too many words on the slides, we're busy reading them and we can't pay attention to you. Work on your timing, obviously, 6 minutes instead of 8:30. Great photos and great personality. I look forward to your additional speeches. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Louis. Thank you, Lindsay. Our next evaluator is Rick Starr, who will be evaluating Ryan Prana Miller.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, and guests. First of all, congratulations, Prana, on getting up and giving your icebreaker.
Yeah.
This is the hardest speech you'll have to give. It gets easier after this, and you've broken the ice, and welcome aboard. So I'm going to go through the manual on your evaluation. What strong points does the speaker already have? You have a very rich, strong, sonorous voice, very good speaking voice. Another strong point is you're able to write very clearly, and it was a very well-written speech. And the third point, strong point you already have, I would say, is you're able to communicate your passions and your interests in a way that shows that you're passionate and interested about them. How well did the audience get to know the speaker? Very well indeed. You not only gave a chronology of the milestones in your life, but as I said, you were able to express them in a very personal way, and we got to know what inspires you and what you're passionate about, and that was very good. Did the speech reflect adequate preparation? Yes, it did. Very well written, very well prepared, not only in the chronology, but in your interests. Did you talk clearly and audibly? Yes, as I said, you had a strong, clear voice. Thought that went very well. Did the speech have an opening, a body, and conclusion? You introduced the speech telling us what you were going to say, you said it, and then you had a sentence that summarized what you did say. And this is kind of the standard way to organize a speech. Please comment on the speaker's use of notes. You did use notes for your icebreaker, that was fine. Sometimes you, as you got enthusiastic about a topic, you would not use notes and you'd speak a little more without them, and that's good also. And as you get more practice, you'll learn to use notes less and less. What did you like about the presentation? Aside from the things I said, and including some of the things I said, it was a warm, personal speech. We got to know you. In terms of technique, you came out from behind the podium, which is good. That way the podium isn't an obstacle between you and your audience. And you talked in a very personal way about the sources of inspiration in your life. What could the speaker have done differently? One thing I would suggest, and you'll learn this, is more eye contact with the audience. I noticed sometimes when you were speaking without the use of notes, you'd be looking up in the air or looking down. But just try practicing more eye contact with the audience. It establishes a personal connection. But overall, very good speech, and congratulations on your icebreaker.
Thanks a lot.
Now we're going to break it up a little bit and have some table topics. Our table topics master tonight is Louis Denbaum. Yes, thank you, and let's warmly welcome Louis.
I'm monopolizing the meeting tonight. I'm standing in for my wife Diane, who was supposed to be the table topics master and couldn't make it tonight. I am going to go with the theme, board games. I love the Stephen Wright quote on the top of the matrix, that it isn't fair that one company gets to make the game Monopoly. Stephen Wright is one of my favorites. By the way, found this in our archives.
Yeah, those are good.
Okay, this is strategies for table topics. Pick one of these up at the end of the meeting. You can't have them now, it's too late. You're going to have to come up with whatever equipment you already have. So, who would like to be our first table topics? Luke. Okay. Since you're from the younger generation of our membership, I'd like to ask you, what is your favorite video game and why? And what can you tell us about it that makes you make that your favorite? Okay.
I remember video games. I remember video games being my greatest bliss at about between the age of 10 and 14. And I used to love to play games that were very violent, and I found them fun and adventurous and exciting, and I would call up my friends on the phone and hold the phone in my ear, and we'd play the same game together through the internet. And somewhere in my mid to late teenage years, I started getting more intrigued with real life. It just wasn't quite as satisfying from the game, and that part of my life vanished. But I would say that the adventure has continued through in the adventures of social adventures with my peers, and adventures in college, and adventures in getting to know who I am. And so the journey has still continued, but the video games have subsided. The spirit has continued the whole way. Waiting for that green light. Now it's red. Okay.
That was your green light.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Who's our next volunteer? Lisa?
Lisa.
If your life would turn into a board game or a video game, tell us what the title might be, what the object, and maybe what some of the rules of this game would be.
All right, let's do it. All right, well, at the moment, my life would, or the board game would be called Freakin' Fire Traveler. Yeah, Freakin' Fire Travelers. And the reason is because I happen to marry a guy who is obsessed with collecting Freakin' Fire miles. So he does this by signing up for credit cards that give you 50,000 American Airlines or 100,000 Chase points. And it's this really big game that we've been playing together, basically, where we sign up for as many credit cards as we can, probably about 15 a year each. And we're able to just pick a destination. In a few weeks, we're headed to Hawaii for free on the airplane. And then we're going to go to maybe Australia, once again for free in business class, all because we're collecting miles. So it could definitely be a board game where you're like collecting points, seeing how many you can get, seeing what great deals you can find where you can go. So that would be the game.
Excellent. Thank you. I'd like to get in on that game.
Yes.
Anyone can do it.
All right, someone from the older generation.
What does that mean?
We're going to give preference to people who didn't give a speech. That's a table topic etiquette. But if no one else volunteers, Lindsay, you're next. Anybody? Jean?
Although I'm not from the old.
Yes, you are. Come on up.
I have to, if I have to
All
take
right.
that label.
All right, come on up.
Okay.
We'll let people in denial do the table topics.
No, I'm in freedom.
Okay. So I would like you to comment on the same question I gave Luke, but about a board game. And what was your favorite memories of playing it? Just tell us all about your favorite board game growing up. Or you're still playing it.
This will really show either that I'm younger than you think or that I'm older than you think, because one of my favorite games was Chutes and Ladders. Does anyone know what that is?
Vaguely.
Yes. It is a classic. You have to be pretty small to think it's cool. So I'm going back really early, but basically it's simply organized. It's a board game that you try to move your piece up like this, up through all the little squares, and then you end up at the top, and that's when you win. However, what happens is, and you're rolling dice, and what happens is when you land on a certain square, you may luck out, and you get a ladder that takes you up, and you don't have to go the whole way, or unfortunately you hit a chute and you end up sliding all the way back. So as a little kid, you're struggling, you're working, I'm trying to get up the board, you're halfway there, oh, and you hit a chute and you got to go back. And it was tremendously exciting, actually. I love that game. I would play that game with any one of you that has children and you are wishing for a night out and you need someone to come over and play Chutes and Ladders with your kids. I would take that up in a heartbeat. Thank you.
Thank you. So Gene, maybe Saturday night you could do that with my mother-in-law. Diane and I can get out. We have time for one more. Lindsay? Okay, in the old days when I was growing up, you actually had to find somebody to play the game with you. You know, knock on a friend's door and say, hey, you want to play Monopoly? You want to play Chutes and Ladders? Now you can play against the computer, where you can find people online all over the world. Tell me what you think about the pros and cons of both these different ways of playing. People presently right there in front of the board game, or on the internet, or against the computer itself.
That is such a timely question. You preface that with older, younger generation. I don't think that that speaks to age groups, because when my parents come over to my house, I have a laminated sign on our table that says, put your phone away. And it's made for them, because I find it so annoying when I go to my parents' house and we're all sitting in a cozy little room with the glow of cell phones. And I joke about it, and I said, what are you doing, Mom? Crushing some candy? And she gets so defensive about it because she knows it's a nasty habit. It's so much more fun to play with a board game. So going without saying, I do not get into computer games, board games, never once played a single video game in my life. And I just don't understand the appeal. But I'm also really not that into board games. I like playing cards occasionally, but my attention span usually doesn't take me too far into those games, especially the kids ones. I try to be a good aunt and play these Chutes and Ladders, and they cheat, and they get mad at each other. The last time I played with my nieces and nephew, one of them took the board and went, and I laughed, and then I was mean for laughing. So anyway, good card game, 1-2 hands, not an all-night affair, and I'm good to go.
Good.
Wow, that's so good to find out that I'm not the only one that cheats and shoots. We have time for one more. Anybody?
I'll give it a shot.
Sure.
Do you mind helping me out with
I'll
that?
do your
job. Okay. Any of the questions that we've had so far?
Favorite video game?
You want to read them?
Alright.
Okay. What's your favorite video game?
Yeah.
Want to do that one? Okay, great. Take it away.
Okay. My favorite video game while growing up was this computer game, strategy-based game called StarCraft. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of it. It's the first one, the one with the really poor graphics. But, I mean, back then it was like really awesome and state of the art. But right now it's not that appealing to current video games, which are definitely like really professional in terms of 3D graphics. So, but it was my favorite video game at that time, not only because it looked really stunning at that period of time when it was released, but also because it involved different races battling each other for supremacy. And as a kid, I really enjoyed like I want to say racism, but like it's a form of racism in a way. Like to pick your favorite race and see it dominate over the others, and it just made me feel really fulfilled. Like, as a kid, my ego felt really fulfilled. Like my ego felt like, yeah, I'm powerful, I'm good. And the best part is I can also use cheats on it, which makes the game even more fun because I can never die. I can always have unlimited resources. Everything was always like you can respawn faster, and I had so much control and supremacy and 100% winning streak that makes it really enjoyable in that sense. So that was my favorite game right now.
Now it is time to vote for the best table topic. Mr. Timer, please read the names if they qualify.
All table topic participants qualified: Luke, Annalisa, Jean, Lindsay, and DJ.
Everyone voted? Okay. Now it's my honor to bring up our table topics evaluator, former member, John Miller.
Brought back by popular demand,
Yes.
you might say. Yeah. Fellow Toastmasters, guests, viewers at home. Interesting selection this evening. I commend Louis on your gestures, especially the phone gesture. I thought it really engaged the audience.
Luke.
Well,
Yeah, Luke.
Luke, his name's Luke.
what did I call you?
Louis.
Louis.
Oh, Louis, I'm sorry.
Luke.
And your infectious smile really drew everybody in. Keep it up. Recommendation for you is the same for all table topics presenters this evening. Makes it very easy to use the stage more and engage the audience a bit more profoundly so that everybody feels a part of what you're doing. Annalisa, Game of Life, your adventurous topic, I think, really engaged the audience. It got me interested in thinking about applying for some more credit cards. Wondering why I got turned down last week for, that's another story. And I commend you also for the gestures that you used to engage the audience. Very well done. Jean, your favorite game? It was really cute to see the kid in you struggling up that ladder before plummeting down the chute in despair. And your offer was wonderful to reach out to the audience and say, I'm there for you, just should have left your phone number or something, though. I would suggest go a little bit farther. So we know you're sincere. Lindsay, there you are. Commendation is that smile. That really, again, just like with your speech itself, really drew people in. It's very comfortable to be a part of your audience. The example of your mother being overly involved with electronics was a good one also. And DJ, you are probably the first person I can think of in my life who has made racism a comfortable experience. That was really beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah. Just to make it clear, it was among alien races. It's not like human.
I hear you,
races.
but I mean,
Really
still,
bad.
just to use the term, you know, it's always got racism. Oh my God,
Yeah, I know.
maybe I am racist. So it's really was cute to hear it in that context, and that you used your personal experiences very well.
Thank you.
Is that it? That was
Mhm.
it.
Now we have some reports from our role players.
Vote.
Oh, that's right, we're gonna
Best
vote
evaluator.
for best evaluator. Mr. Timer, did our evaluators all qualify? And would you read the names, please, of those who did?
All our evaluators qualified.
Okay.
Lewis, Rick, and John.
Okay. So you can jot a name down. All right, now that we've voted, let's go ahead and hear from our role players. First, I'd like to ask for our timers report from Monty Condon.
You're a little bit of a rough start. I got into the zone a little bit. Lindsay, you clocked in at around 8:30.
On a record.
Ryan, you were at 5 minutes and 50 seconds. Moving on to our speech evaluators. Lewis, you spoke for 3 minutes and 15 seconds. Rick, you spoke for 3 minutes and 3 seconds. John, you clocked in at 3:11. Table topics, Luke, you spoke for 1 minute and 7 seconds. And Elisa, you spoke also 1 minute and 7 seconds. Jean, 1:31. And Lindsay, also 1:31. And DJ almost made it to, DJ, you had 1:30. Let's get hard.
Thank you. Now we can hear from our grammarian, who is Dan Craig.
The users of the word of the day, Jyoti 1, Lindsay, our champion, with 2, Prana 1, and Lewis 1. Phrases that I heard, unfortunately I didn't get to hear the whole meeting, but I bet Lindsay said some great stuff. I did hear Prana say improvisation, music, going into the unknown, which gave me a certain feel that it was good. Luke said, somewhere in my mid-teens, I started getting more interested in real life.
That was good.
Jean said, you're struggling, you're working, you're trying to get up the board, and then you hit a shoot. And that's about all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we will hear from our odd counter, DJ.
Okay, so Luis, he has 1 and 1 repeat. John Monty has 1 Lindsay, 4 us, 2 buts, 10 ands. Prana, 9 us, 2 ums, 2 likes, 6 so's, 2 buts, 21 ands, 1 pause, and 6 repeats. Rick, 1 1 2 buts. Luke, you have 1 2 ands. Lisa, you have 1 like. Jean, you have 1 so, 2 ands. DJ, I have 1 1 like, 1 so, 1 but, and 1 false start. And John, you have 1 and. Yeah, that's it.
That was the first time odd counter. Very well done. Very complete.
Thank you.
I looked, every time I looked over, you were
Yeah.
very focused.
Actually, I have an issue with the ands though, because and is such a common word to use, and I think it's also grammatically correct and really hard to form sentences without that word. You know?
We want to use periods more and ands less.
So no ands at all. Any of that word and in sentence is not allowed.
And is a word, so it's obviously legitimate in some contexts.
Right.
But what we find and what we're trying to work on here is not having a sentence that just runs on and on with and in the middle, like one of those 175 car trains that just keeps going. So you want to finish a sentence with a period,
Okay.
then start a new one.
How about like, for example, some like sentences have the word "and" in the middle?
That's
That's okay, right?
That's okay as long, but just keep an eye on it. If you're an "and" offender, what you're being told is that you never really end your sentences. You keep doing "ands" a lot. A lot of times people do "and so." It's almost a hybrid. And so, and so. That's the, so is also a word.
Gotcha.
But in that context where everything is starting with a so, it's not necessary.
I understand. But if they use it once or twice in a row, it's okay. But more than that is, I mean, it really depends on how I feel about it.
Right. Not starting a sentence with so
Okay.
is a good, if you do start a sentence with so, you're probably going to end up there on your list.
Right, yep. Got it.
Yeah.
But "and" is okay to start with sometimes?
Not so good.
So every single time I hear the word, I have to write it down.
You know, I would say just really focus on with "ands." Watch and see that a person is not starting a new idea
Oh, okay.
and linking it to the previous idea with an "and." Does that make sense?
All right, that's much clearer. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you. It's subtle, and people do wonder, it's a word. Does that mean you can't ever use word "and" again? Okay. Greeter joke master. We have Lucas again. You know, it's kind of like my dad at the dinner table growing up. If whatever wasn't eaten, everybody passed it down to my dad because he would take care of it.
I've done that too.
All right.
All right, I have a few one-liners. Let's see. I always remember the last words of my grandfather. A truck!
Oh, God.
After 2 days in the hospitals, I took a turn for the nurse. And then another Stephen Wright one. We had it on our matrix. That is, everything's within walking distance if you have enough time. And let's see. There are worse things in life than death. Have you ever spent an evening with an insurance salesman? That's from Morty Allen. And that's it for the jokes.
It's time for the general evaluator remarks, and I will be focusing on the evaluators because that's how we get better as evaluators. It's always my personal opinion. You may agree or not. Lewis evaluated Lindsay, and he gave a lot of positive, upbeat comments. Such poise, eye contact, very personable. He also used the manual objectives, which is something that we really focus on here in this club. What are the things that Lindsay is specifically supposed to be doing for this particular project? So he went through those, and as an audience, I get to hear what the objectives are, because he also read them at the front. Didn't you read them at the front? You didn't read them at the front, okay. Usually we want to read them at the front, so when the audience is listening, we know what Lindsay is trying to do. And there's a little box on the front of the project that talks about objectives, and that's what we like to read.
Yes, I
also.
did read those,
Okay.
but I didn't read the questions.
No, yeah, not the question, just that those little. Again, the idea is that there are specific criteria that we're looking to evaluate. He also gave specific examples of Lindsay throughout her presentation, which shows very focused listening. Being a good evaluator is intellectual and listening skills. Lindsay, I think, felt very heard as a result of listening to Lewis's evaluation. He also gave some suggestions for improvement, which is another element of evaluation. So he suggested that she does have a good foundation and could use less attention to notes. And so that was a good suggestion, I think. My suggestion for Lewis, it's going to relate a little bit to Rick too, is that one of the main goals of the icebreaker is to develop an opening, a body, and conclusion on a speech. And chronology, couldn't just stop there, speech, period. A chronological organization can be even more effective if there's a theme that ties the pieces together. If the speaker in advance has thought, well, what is it that makes those things? Because there's a gazillion things in your life that have happened, but maybe there's a theme that would tie all those things together and that I could mention in the opening, and I could also refer back to it in the conclusion, and that would be a really nice piece to digest for my audience. So that would be something that I could say that is not too advanced. It's still, icebreaker material, but it's just something that puts the organization of that body, opening body and conclusion a little more in line and a little more effective. Rick on prana. He's very upbeat at start, gave congratulations, which we always feel when we have an icebreaker. He also used the manual's objectives, so he went over that and what that is, what prana is trying to do. And he commented on the opening and the body and the conclusion. He gave a suggestion, more eye contact, and he demonstrated that. Rick is so great because if he's saying you're not making eye contact, he's showing you how you didn't do it, what that looked like. And that's always very helpful, I think, and amusing. It's amusing. I would say the same thing Rick could have said to prana, develop an organizing principle for what that series of all these things in my life, and try to trim it a little bit. Just trim it a little bit. And that could have been something so that there was a good opening and a body and conclusion that all tied together. John Miller, as the table topics evaluator, gave positives. Luke, smile and humor, and he also gave a suggestion. Engage the audience a little bit more, or come out and be involved, and that's getting advanced. Annalisa liked her gestures. I can't remember what he said as a suggestion, but probably...
Use stage for everybody, all on tabletop.
Yeah, okay. Probably she needs to give a course on this travel frequent flyer mile thing. Gene, he said I was fun to watch, but he also suggested I leave my phone number. Okay. And Lindsay, he said she had a great smile. And I think he just liked Lindsay's talk. And then DJ, humorous, the racism, which was great, and also very personable. I know. For those of you at home, racism is not great. If you're just tuning in, you've missed the point. You had to have been there. Okay, very finely presented. And so that was great. It was a really interesting evening. That is my report. I'm going to turn the meeting back over to our Toastmaster, Dr. Raj.
Now it's our time. Let's see who got what. Okay, best speaker. Prana. Best speaker.
Thank you.
Great job.
Right. Do I give this back to you like in 2 minutes?
Yeah, 2 minutes or 1 week, you can keep that off.
Thank you. Okay.
One more. For your icebreaker. Congratulations.
Thank you, Jyoti.
Lindsay,
More to go.
for your icebreaker.
Icebreaker. Woo!
Best evaluator, John.
There we go.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Recount.
Best table topics. Lindsay.
You're right.
So I'd like to call our president for his closing comments.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Let's see. Okay, guests, want to say something about the meeting? John, as a guest.
It's a pleasure. I think I might join someday again.
Okay.
Yay! You guys rock.
Yeah.
All right, great, great. And you want to say something as a kind of on the wall?
Sure.
Between guest and member.
I'm debating in my mind the question of having actually the best table topics or best this or best that. Because I remember when I was evaluating the table topics, thinking, or the evaluators think that all kinds of other influence, like, oh, like I like this person the most, or like this person's content was most useful to me. It wasn't really about how well of a speaker they were. And then also there's this sort of, I find like, I hope I'm the winner of that. And then it's like this kind of, oh, I'm not the winner. You know, I'm not sure if this is really the, I think modern business practices are trying to develop more of a get out of the individual best and move into team best. And I'm wondering if actually having these individual awards is necessarily the best thing to be culture. I'm not saying it is or it isn't, but this is a question in my mind. I think it's great, in both options, but it's one of the debates.
Thank you.
Everybody wins.
By the way, Luke, one of the things that we do have as a collective is we shoot for becoming what's called a distinguished club. And all of our contributions for the fiscal year go into that. So we do have that greater picture that we all get to be a part of. So thank you for your comment. Appreciate it. Okay. Now, I do have some what we call my president's pet peeves, and we probably have to repeat them next week because most of our members are not here. One announcement, though, is we will take a vacation break on Tuesday, December 30th. There will be no meeting, and we'll come back on the 6th. So make a note of that. You can let your hair down on that Tuesday night and start your New Year's celebration early. Come back to us on the 6th. And it's interesting that, I don't know, Lindsay, you just kind of like were there to make this point for me tonight, because you gave a wonderful icebreaker and then you also gave a table topic. So I want to say something about table topics. I'm going to remind the club that table topics is usually reserved for people who don't have a speaking role during the meeting. That means they're not an evaluator, they're not a speaker, something where you actually have a speaking role. We're leaving table topics for those people so that the theory is everyone might have the opportunity to speak at every single meeting. Okay. And the other thing is that we're also focusing on people who haven't been giving table topics on a regular basis. Some people always raise their hand, and we're going to ask for people to step up if you haven't done a table topic in a while. And I might even ask the table topic master to call on somebody. That's really extemporaneous speaking. And let's see if I have any other remarks. Okay, so I want us all to pay a lot more attention to our roles. Speaking is great, but there are all kinds of other roles that make this happen. And I will send out a memo that will cover what that role, what some additional things we want in that role. So if you're the greeter joke master, we want you to get here around 7:30 on that night. There's a guest book which you should take out and put on the table because you're greeting people and you want them to sign the guest book. There are some pamphlets that guests can take with them. The greeter should put those out. If you're the ballot counter, okay, we want you to get here early and put the evaluation forms, one for each speech, on the chairs and the ballots. By the way, do you all notice that we have bigger ballots now?
Yes.
A little easier to tear and fold up. So that's a wonderful improvement. So I want you to take real serious note of your role and get here to prepare for that role and step into that role. Become the greeter. Become the ballot counter. Make sure that everyone has a ballot, that it's easy, that someone's not turning around looking for a ballot in the middle of the meeting. It's distracting. So also, if you're speaking, we've had a number of cancellations over the past few weeks. It's really important to our meetings that we have our 3 speaking slots. That's the heart and soul of our meeting. So if you sign up for a slot, try to honor it. Because it's not easy to find someone to step in, on Monday morning when someone says, I can't do my speech. So do your best. If you've been over anxious in the past, maybe you need to sign up for an extra week later because you think you're going to write the speech faster than you end up not doing it. So if you've got a pattern of canceling your speeches, take more time. Okay. Any questions on any of this? Jean?
Some meetings, if they're a little smaller in terms of table topics and having roles, I mean, it was okay that we stepped up. It's just whoever gets to go first, and then,
Right.
I mean, maybe just clarify that.
Yeah.
So we just-
Yeah. Like tonight, we took 5 table topics. Some meetings we might only have 3. So it might be appropriate given the number of guests. Like if we have somebody who's this is their first time coming to Toastmasters and they want to do a table topics, I would give them priority.
Yeah.
But if somebody's been coming as a guest, for 3 months in a row, and they've been doing a lot of table topics, we might ask them to wait and see if there's other people who want to do it. So, table topics are for guests. They're also for members. And our abilities as a Toastmaster member, we want to grow in giving prepared speeches and in table topics. So if we don't get a chance to give them, we don't get a chance to grow. And Monty, do you want to say something about your idea that you had during the meeting?
This is just something I floated in the officer meeting we had before, was I make the schedule and I'm responsible for deciding the theme, which is usually what people table topics are. And in my research online looking for different meeting themes, I came across, there's different Toastmaster websites out there. And some of them listed actually a variety theme meeting. And that is a meeting specifically about a certain theme. There's all these different ways you can do that. But specifically for table topics, there's a lot of creative ways to do extemporaneous speaking and different techniques. There's a hat thing that you can do, there's card tricks that you can do, and there's more of a extemporaneous, pass the baton type speaking thing. So there's all these creative things that you can do with that type of speaking. And my idea was sometime next year, I would like to take a regular meeting and convert it to a theme meeting. That was the idea, and Lewis was, and most of the officers were supportive. I'm going to report on that next month with some more ideas to see what we can throw together.
Great. I think that'll be fun. Thank you for taking the lead on that, Monty. I would like a volunteer who would like some just simple, mindless work for the club. I have these sheets, and if you have a paper cutter, it will go really fast, but even if you don't, if you just want to sit in front of your television or something and cut these ballots up. Lindsay?
Paper cutter.
Okay, great. Thank you. Appreciate that. And these, you can pick these up. I don't know how many, if there's enough for everyone, so first come, first serve. Strategies for table topics. I'll leave it right here. The other thing we have, most of you, if not all of you, well, all of you should have gotten one of each of these when you became a member. It should have been mailed to you by Toastmasters International, 3 different brochures. Come up, and there's anywhere between 2 and 4 of them. Take them if you want. added to your collection. You might have lost the ones that came in the mail. One's on effective speech evaluation, your speaking voice, and the other is gestures, how to use gestures.
I don't think I ever got those.
I never got that.
Yeah, in my packet recently.
They may have stopped sending
I think
them.
they stopped. They must
Really?
have stopped.
Yeah, I've never seen them.
All right, well, I'll back off and you guys can fight over that. Okay, and I got one more joke I forgot. I have kleptomania. When it gets really bad, I take something for it. All right, now we got Jean, close the meeting with a final comment.
Yeah, I just want to let you know, on Sunday, we had 16 students graduate from the Toastmaster Youth Leadership Program. Had a great celebration. Will was the assistant coordinator, I was the coordinator. The kids were, the before and after transformation in terms of their abilities was just, I mean, it was just astounding, and I'm still reverberating from it. I'm having a little bit of empty nest syndrome because it's over now. But there are some seriously talented, great kids there. And it's just, if you've ever taught anything and you see someone, a student, take something and apply it and get better and develop that trust and keep going like that, it's just almost hard to put words to it. So we're really proud of them. The editor for the Fairfield Ledger, we're trying to get a picture in. He's asked for a picture of the group. We had some of them that weren't able to be there because of illness and things, but I just highly recommend it when you get to that point, if you'd like to be involved with teaching one of these youth leadership programs. Just really, really rewarding. Thank you.
Thank you. And let's have a round of applause for Will and Jean for their service, putting these 20 people through, how many weeks was it?
It was 9 weeks total.
9 weeks. It's a big commitment on behalf of the club and Toastmasters to carry that out for 2 hours for all that period of time, and the planning that goes into it, the organizing power. So thank you very much. Any other club business or questions? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Have a second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Meeting adjourned. Thank you all.